If you're wondering about the role that amenities play in generating 5-star reviews and exceeding guest expectations, they are really at the heart of it. So in today's video, I am going to talk about those amenities that have to do with convenience. This is the second video in a 3-part series. The last video I talked about comfort. In this video, I'm talking about convenience, and there are too many amenities to mention across all of the different categories that I had to break this up. So let's get started in talking about the role that convenience amenities play in generating 5-star reviews and having a really profitable Airbnb. The first impression that guests are going to have when they're booking your Airbnb is the confirmation and check-in instructions. And that's really your first opportunity to make sure that the guest stay is convenient and they have all of the information that they need to access your place. So I'm going to show you exactly how I lay out the check-in instructions for this particular Airbnb because it's a little bit complicated and guests really appreciate having all of the information that I provide to them because it makes it a lot easier. So guests will walk in from this gate here. They'll walk through the path and they're gonna have to go up this tall flight of stairs in order to access the front door. So in my check-in instructions, I include a Google Maps aerial photo that's looking down on the home, and I show them, I point the arrow down the pathway and I show them that they have to go up the stairs in order to access that front door. First impressions are really everything. So I've made a good impression with the check-in instructions and now they are finally in the home. And the first amenity that they are going to encounter is this luggage and shoe rack that is right behind me, so that guests can put all their stuff outside of the home and keep everything nice and clean on the inside, which makes a huge difference in those winter and wet months so that the home doesn't get super dirty. So this is the next type of amenity that I would highly recommend, is having a place for your guests to put their coats and their shoes. And like every single product that I mentioned in this video, it will be linked down below in the description box. Before we go inside to check out the rest of this Airbnb, I think it's really important to mention that when we're talking about convenience, what we mean is, or what I mean, is that we're really concerned with the ease of the guest stay. Are we answering their questions ahead of time before they have them? And are we making it less likely that they don't have what they need? So that's really the focus of the amenities that I provide, is making sure I'm answering those questions up front and making sure that they have what they need in order to have a really pleasant stay. Okay, so let's go inside. All right, so we are now here in the kitchen. That is the first room that you walk in. And one of the greatest things that our guests mention is just how well stocked this kitchen is and how well organized it is. So let me show you exactly what that looks like. So for the first example, see how everything is labeled. So it is very clear where items go and what types of items they can find in a given drawer or cabinet. And this is an incredibly inexpensive thing to do. You just buy a labeler as well as the actual sticker for the labels and do it. So maybe it's like $30, and I even label the soaps as well as this spice rack. This spice rack, by the way, favorite amenity of all time. Guests absolutely love this thing, and it's unfortunately no longer available on Amazon, but you can find something similar. So after the labels, make sure that you have all of the needed items. So you can see here that I have a full set of pots and pans. These are not super cheap. They are durable, and they're always gonna look great. I also have some baking sheets. I have everything that guests would need to be able to cook. So you see I've got all of the items that they need to cook. So I've got cutting boards, I've got storage containers, all of the utensils. There are even some basic cleaning supplies, extra napkins, sponges, room spray, trash bags, all of those basics. And then here, for added convenience, I have a bartending set, 2 different types of coffee makers, drip and French press, different sizes of mugs, cups, wine glasses, as well as martini glasses and shot glasses. So guests have every single thing that they would need, just like in their kitchen at home. So you see the kettle, blender, toaster, even baking dishes. And they've also got all of their amenities that they need for coffee. They've got tea. And if they want to use the barbecue that is outside, I've got all these plastic plates, cups, and bowls so that they're not taking the glass. So that is the fully stocked kitchen, which is by far one of the most popular aspects of this particular, and really all of my Airbnbs, but this one in particular. People love that it's fully stocked. The next amenity that really enhances guest convenience and gets mentioned in a lot of my reviews is something that I think hotels could really take a page from, and that's providing a broader array of toiletries. And let me show you what I mean. So you can see in here, not only do I have a large container of soap, I've also got lotion, I have Q-tips, Kleenex, makeup towels, always have extra toilet paper, blow dryer, feminine products, steamer. And then in the shower, I also have shampoo, conditioner, and body wash. And these are refillable, so I have a larger container that my cleaner will refill as needed. And another convenience amenity is super popular, but this mirror that women really love because it's easier for them to put on their makeup. Another amenity that is super popular that enhances guest convenience that I'm lucky to be able to have in this unit. Frankly, like it's not something that would be available everywhere, but it is here and it's something that I invested in, but it's right behind me. It is the washer dryer. Now, this washer dryer, it cost about, I want to say it cost about $1,500. And I did originally provide laundry soap. At least I did provide laundry detergent in the beginning, but I found that guests brought their own because they had their own preferred brands or scents or unscented. So I stopped providing that, and that guests have never asked about it. So I don't think that it's necessary to provide the soap. And I think that's especially true because I am in the middle of a large city where it's super easy to get that amenity. But if you were in a more remote location, I would say have at least 2 types of detergent, an unscented and then a scented, so that guests aren't caught off guard and are unable to do their laundry. So having laundry facilities that are here, super, super convenient. And if you don't have that ability, but you are in a location that has laundromats with pickup and drop-off service, I would recommend doing that, especially if you cater to more midterm stays that are longer than like a week. I would offer that as an amenity, and you can either add it into the cost of the stay, or you can at least connect them with the phone number for how they could arrange for that service. Okay, so the next thing to talk about when it comes to convenience is parking. Now, at this particular unit, I do not have dedicated off-street parking. There's just regular street parking. You don't need a permit. There aren't any time limits. So what I do is in the check-in instructions, the aerial photo that I mentioned, there is also captured the street, and I label what side of the street sweeping happens so that they should not park their car on those sides, but they have very detailed instructions on that. So let me just show you really quickly the parking situation. Yep, so you can see here's the street. So I do have street parking that happens once a week on this side and then once a week on that side. And in the map, I just indicate which nights they should not be parking on either this side or that side. And that has really solved any questions or issues that guests might have with that. Now, I will say that our other 2 Airbnbs that also did not come with dedicated off-street parking, and it was street parking, kind of similar to this, but a little bit more complicated because it's a much smaller street, and there are actually 3 different days where street sweeping happens and you can't park on that side. We tried to do this like color-coded map to say, oh, don't park here on Sundays, don't park here on Tuesdays, don't park here on Thursdays. And it got way too complex. And frankly, the neighbors there, because the street is so small, there are so few spots, we would get a couple of complaints about Airbnb guests taking up too many spots. So we just went ahead and purchased some off-street parking from a neighbor who owns a little parking lot that's in the rear of the home. So we just pay, I think it's $75 per month per spot. We have one spot for each unit. It's 2 units, so it's $150 a month. And that has really solved all of the problems that we had with parking and with neighbors being upset. So I would say if purchasing off-street close by parking is an option for you, then you may want to go ahead and provide that amenity because it's going to be so much more convenient for guests. And frankly, for you, because you're not going to be getting complaints from either your neighbors or your guests about the parking situation. And really, like, that's another thing to mention, that the more that you invest in the convenience of your Airbnbs, the more that you are providing your guests a seamless stay, and they're not going to be reaching out to you with questions, with concerns, with complaints, because you've thought about all of those details. So it really is to your benefit to think through all aspects of the guest stay from beginning, middle to end, and identify any pain points there might be and really solve those so that the stay is as seamless and convenient as possible. And trust me, your guests are going to notice, and they are going to reward you for that in their reviews. And in this game, reviews are pure gold. My guests absolutely love staying with me. I've had repeat guests a number of times over the years I've been hosting because my stays are so good. It's worth it, people. Provide a good product and provide good service, and you will be rewarded. Okay, the last 2 things that I'm going to talk about when it comes to convenience amenities, they're either free or they're very low cost, and you should absolutely be doing them. The first of these is a guidebook. I bought a really inexpensive template from Etsy that was for Canva and has lots of photos, and it has an about us. And I list out all of my recommendations for food, drinks, local attractions, other things to see. And guests absolutely love it. I have found numerous printouts of it because I actually provide it as part of the check-in instructions as a link in there. So it's digital. They don't have to print it out, but a couple of guests have printed out and I found it here. A number of guests have mentioned that they love that in the reviews, but it just helps provide guests a really good experience once they're here. And you've put the thought into it. So do a guidebook, folks. It's worth its weight in gold. Now, the final thing to mention, it's a kind of an amenity, but kind of not, and it has everything to do with convenience. It's incredibly important. Before I mention it, if you have found this video helpful, please hit like if you want to see more content like this, and subscribe, because there's going to be another video in this series where I talk about amenities that are really driving those 5-star reviews. So the very final amenity, it's communication. Be sure to be responsive and timely to your guests. A lot of this you can do through automation. And I will link a video here where I talk about all of my automated messages. You can even download the exact wording that I use. You don't even have to think about it, but you can set up your series of automated messages so that guests are confirmed when they book. They have check-in instructions. You are checking in on them the morning after they have checked in. You are giving them checkout instructions. And then a couple of days later, if they haven't reviewed you, you are asking them for a review. That is going to take care of like 90% of your communication. The other part is, again, remember I mentioned earlier in this video, as you're thinking through the guest stay and all of those different details, you are answering their questions before they even have them, right? So this is a vital part of communication, is proactive communication. So having those super detailed check-in instructions, parking instructions, labeling where things go in the kitchen. But in the event that after all of that, your guests still have questions, be responsive. I take no more than 10, 15 minutes tops to get back to guests, and I'm always answering their questions. If you can, I would use a property management software that has AI integration, because that is also going to significantly cut down on the amount of time that you are responding to guests. I use Hospitable, and I think it uses, at the time of this recording, like ChatGPT-4. It's always using whatever the most up-to-date ChatGPT is, and I can just hit a button and the AI will generate a response. 95%, it is on the money. I just review it quickly, hit send. Sometimes I have to make some edits, but even if I do that, it still saves me an enormous amount of time and an enormous amount of brain power, because the machine is doing it for me. So, tools like Hospitable and other AI integrated property management software will greatly enhance your communication. So you really have no excuse, but get back to your guests promptly, provide them a thorough answer, and I promise you that their reviews, they will reflect that you were a great communicator to them. To become an Airbnb host, as well as furnish and decorate your Airbnb like a pro, please check out the links down below. I've also got links to all of the specific amenities that I mentioned in this video. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to stay tuned because the third video in this series will be coming up shortly. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.